Welcome back to the Red Dice Diaries, and in this RPG a Day video I'm going to be answering Day 9's question: what is a good RPG to play for about 10 sessions? So, my choice is this, Dungeon World by Sage Kobold Productions. Now, this has been out for a fair old while, and basically it's a game using the Powered by the Apocalypse engine to create a sort of D&D-esque gaming experience. Now, you might say, well, why do I need Powered by the Apocalypse to create a D&D-esque gaming experience when D&D is already out there? Now, that's a perfectly valid point of view. That's absolutely fine. If you want to play your D&D, no problems with that. I've got pretty much every edition of D&D myself. I quite enjoy it. I'm a big fan of the OSR stuff. Absolutely grand. However, if you're looking for a sort of a very simple, very easy to understand D&D style game that's all in one reasonably priced book, you don't need to have massive loads of supplements. I mean, this book's like nearly about 400 pages long, including the monster descriptions, all the stuff the GM needs to run games, the various different classes and all the options you need for them. You want all that in one book you can carry around very easily. A book that encourages you to just get out the book and run a game with fairly little prep. You don't really have to have the extensive sort of back catalogue of products that D&D tends to encourage. You can't go far wrong with Dungeon World. Now, I've reviewed Dungeon World before, and I'll put a link to that review down in the description. I'm a very big fan of it. It uses the Powered by the Apocalypse system, which, if you're not aware, is basically a system where everything in the game is judged by moves. It's a player-facing system, so everything tends to originate from the player. So, if you were going to attack someone in Dungeon World, you would make a hack and slash move, which would be 2d6 plus your ability modifier, and the game uses the abilities that we're familiar with from D&D. So hack and slash would be 2d6 plus your strength modifier. If you get a 6 or less, the GM decides what happens. Essentially, you failed or there's some complication occurred. If you get a 7 to 9, you've succeeded, but there will be some sort of minor complication. If you get a 10 plus, you have succeeded and you go on to do your damage. If the player is attacked, then they will make a defense roll with a similar range of results to the ones I've just described. Essentially, everything in Powered by the Apocalypse boils down to that. 6 or less is a fail. The GM decides what happens. 7 to 9 is success with a complication. 10 plus is a success. And that's pretty much all you need to know. The way the different classes work is effectively via playbooks. Now, playbooks, for those of you who aren't aware, are essentially the character sheets for the various different players. Now, what you do is you'll pick your sheet based on your class. It'll have a number of options that you tick. So, for instance, when you're determining the look of your character, there will be a number of different options. So I'm just going to flick through here to see which class I first come across. Okay, so here we go. Let's take the fighter class, one of the most sort of well-known classes in D&D. When it comes to describing the look of your character, it says choose one for each. So to describe their eyes, you could pick hard eyes, dead eyes, or eager eyes. For their hair, you could pick wild hair, shorn hair, or battered helm. You could pick calloused skin, tan skin, or scarred skin, built body, lithe body, or ravaged body. Now, with these more narrative ones, you can pretty much make up your own and put them in there. So if you said you wanted to have fiery eyes, you could easily write that in. Now, when you move on, you get to pick a number of starting moves. So you choose a race. There's dwarf, elf, halfling, and human listed in here as the default choices. When you pick one, you get a move or a special ability. So, for instance, the dwarf, when they share a drink with someone, they can parley with them, so socially interact with them, but they use constitution instead of the normal charisma, because obviously they're getting them a little bit tanked, they're getting them to divulge their secrets, and the dwarf's relying on his constitution to mean that he can drink more and still remain in charge of his faculties. With the elf, they choose one weapon. They can always treat weapons of that type as if they have the precise tag. So because of their amazing dexterity, they can use their dex modifier instead of strength effectively, and so on and so forth. And this pretty much continues throughout the moves. And the reason this is so brilliant is because it means that all the stuff you want to do in the game will be there on your character sheet. You don't have to go, okay, I'm playing a fighter, I've got this feat, I've got that feat, let me just have a look in the book, see what it means, flick, 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 slowing down the game. Everything you need to know will be written on your character sheet. All you have to do is look down and say, oh, I'm using my signature weapon, it's got this, this and this, which mean this. Off we go. It's a very easy system to get into. You only need 2d6 to play it in terms of dice, and your character sheet and a pencil or some sort of writing implement, which also makes it very portable, which is a great thing for conventions and the like. Now, the reason I say this is good for RPGs where you want to play about 10 sessions is because effectively this game covers your heroes going up to around about 10th level, I believe it is. And effectively when you go up in a level, you get an extra move, which means you get an extra power, which as always is written on your character sheet. So yeah, so here we go. I can see when you gain a level from 6 to 10, choose from these moves. So yeah, it supports up to 10th level. And obviously you can spread that out depending on the rate of advancement in your game. That's absolutely fine. Now, I ran a recent Dungeon World campaign which went pretty well and lasted for, I think, a few more sessions than 10, but it worked really well. The advancement seemed to work fine. There was no sort of like, oh, well, I don't really feel like I'm advancing from the players. I'm not sure what my character's doing. It's all there. It's all nice and easy. It's nice and simple. So if you're looking for a sort of D&D style fantasy game that's got everything you want on your character sheets, it has all of the information the GM needs in one book. It's reasonably priced. It's a very simple game. It's a player-facing game, and one that allows character advancement from levels 1 to 10 over the course of your campaign. You really cannot go far wrong with Dungeon World. I highly recommend you give it a look. If you're a fan of Powered by the Apocalypse, certainly give it a look. If you're not a fan of Powered by the Apocalypse, this is a very easy introduction into that system, since it touches on very familiar concepts to anyone who has any experience of D&D. And it's also very versatile. The advice on running a campaign for GMs and running one-shots is very good in this book, and it also provides some tools for the GM in terms of tracking their campaign. So that's my recommendation for what is a good RPG to play for about 10 sessions, Dungeon World. Until I see you next time, take care and happy gaming. And I hope if you've enjoyed this video, you'll consider clicking on like and subscribing to our channels. Until we see you next time, take care and happy gaming.